Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. So as Felicia said, we are going to be doing the gingerbread embroidery. So I'm going to show you a couple different ways to do that. My name is Stacy. I work here at Michael's. I'm the birthday party and events lead here, so I get to do some fun things at Michael's. And tomorrow, make sure to check out our peppermint ornament shaker. That's going to be taught by one of our Michael's people, Val. So make sure to check that out too, because that's going to be a lot of fun. That'll be here, same time, same place tomorrow. All right, so we're going to move on to my other camera here, and I'm going to show you how to do the gingerbread embroidery. So first of all, I'm going to show you this more simple version. So this can sometimes be a little bit tedious. So if you don't want to sit here and sew and poke holes the whole time and you just kind of want the look of the embroidery, we're going to show you a quick way to make like a cute little painted version. And then we will move on to the actual embroidered version where we're going to be sewing it together. And so without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Let's start with our simple version. So I'm going to be using this brown foam. I just have a piece of brown foam here and I have a template. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out my template and I'm going to trace him onto the brown foam. If you don't have brown foam, you could use a different color foam. If you don't have foam, you could use construction paper or you could use printer paper. Just know if you're going to be using something that's not like foam, it's not going to work as well with paint. So maybe try colored pencils or markers or something else to make your gingerbread so that it doesn't bleed through or break or, just overall make a mess. All right, so we're going to cut out our template. I'm just going to cut around the lines. He doesn't have to be perfect. The important part here is that we're just having fun. So if at any point feel like you're not having fun, you can always take a break, as Felicia said. We have a recorded version that is available right now that you could go watch, and you can pause it if you need it to go a little bit slower. Or you can always watch the recorded version of this one as well on our YouTube channel. And I would love to know how you're going to personalize your little gingerbread guy. Are you going to give him a name? Are you going to give him like little decorations? Here, put the finished one there. Sometimes we have some real pro crafters that can go even faster than I can. So I always like to make sure that I have the finished product so that they can take a look at the example while they're crafting with us. All right, almost got our template cut out here, and then we're going to trace him on out onto our foam or whatever you have at home. And again, if you don't have the supplies and you're just watching, that's totally fine. You're welcome to just watch. You could go out and get the supplies later and then do it with the recording as well. Okay, so I'm going to put him over there. And now I'm going to trace my template onto my foam. So I'm just using a pen here. You could use a pencil, just anything to really make a line on the foam so that you know where to cut. And again, he doesn't have to be perfect because he's my gingerbread man. Or gingerbread woman, or gingerbread person. Are you going to give your gingerbread man a name? If so, let us know what you're going to name your gingerbread man. So, just finishing up the lines here. All right, perfect. So now I've got my outline. Make sure that's in frame there. All right, perfect. Now I'm going to cut out my foam, just like I did with my template. Again, I'm not being super perfect with the lines, but he's my gingerbread man. He doesn't have to be perfect.
So Stacey, someone's going to name their gingerbread Stacey.
They're going to name him Stacy? I love that. A Stacy for a gingerbread person is a great name. Sometimes the foam is going to be a little bit tougher to cut through than the paper, and that's okay if it takes a little bit longer. So it's a bit of a thicker material. All right, almost done here. And there we go. Like, round that bit out a little bit. It's not so jaggedy. But you could give him ears, I suppose, if you wanted your gingerbread man to have ears. All right, there we go. We have our first gingerbread man all cut out. So now we get to do the fun part where we get to paint him. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to paint this middle part white here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave a border around the whole gingerbread man, brown, because that's where we're going to put our embroidery pattern. So as you see here, there's dots all around. It kind of looks like he's sewn together, but he's not. So that's what we're going to start with. So I'm going to use some white for my gingerbread man. It's kind of going to be like icing on a real gingerbread man, but you can use any color that you have. It doesn't have to be white. It can be blue or green, or if you have sparkly paint, you could use sparkly paint. And then I just have a brush here. You can use any brush that you have. Again, you could use like markers. You have markers. All right. And again, he doesn't have to be perfect. So you see, I'm leaving that like brown border there. So I'm just painting on the inside, following the same lines as our gingerbread man.
And since we do have someone that's using cardboard instead of foam.
Oh, that's interesting. You can definitely use paint with cardboard. So cardboard's a good alternative. It might be a little hard to cut through, so just take your time with it. It's good alternatives. Good job being creative, everyone. That is the whole point of these classes, is to just kind of jog that creative brain of yours so you can have some fun and make something. All right, I'm gonna go down here and do the legs. Make sure you can see. And again, just leaving that little border. So I'm not going all the way down to the end. Doing my best. I'm gonna do the other leg. Again, I'm not being super precise. I'm just having fun with it. Now I can go and do the arms. Not going all the way to the end. Other arm. There we go. So now we've got our gingerbread kind of outlined here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do exactly what we have on this little guy, and I'm going to make little dots all around that on that brown border there, so he looks like he's sewn together. So that our pro crafters can see the result, because some people might be faster than me. So all I'm doing here to make the little dots is I'm just taking a little paint with my brush here, and I'm just doing a quick dab, and that's all I'm doing. And I'm just going to do that all the way around. And again, he doesn't have to look perfect. I'm just making him my own. Just quick dots, dot, dot, dot. Doesn't have to be too much pressure. The more pressure you put on it, the bigger the dot's going to be. The less pressure you put on it, the smaller the dot's going to be. So whatever your preference is for your embroidery look. And you can do as many as you like. You can do less if you want like a more of a cleaner look, or you could do more. Like I'm doing a lot. I like the little dots all around, but you don't have to do this many. Make sure you all can see that there. All right, we're almost done with our little faux embroidery look. There we go. He's looking great. You can already see the vision. All right, so now I'm done with my white paint for now. We are going to come back to our white paint. Now I'm going to give our little gingerbread guy a face. And to do that, so we're going to use black paint for the two eyes and the nose, and then red paint for the mouth. But again, you don't have to use these colors. If you have other colors of paint or just other colors you like, you can do that. And you don't have to use paint. If you're using something else, you're welcome to use that too. I'm just using this black paint here. I'm going to do the eyes and the nose. So here I'm going to teach you a trick I learned from working at Michael's. So you learn a lot of fun, creative things working here. So if you take the back of your brush, you can actually make a perfect dot. So I'm going to take the back of my brush here. I'm going to dip it just slightly into my black paint, just like that. And now I'm going to take it and make a dot. And that makes an eye. And we're going to do that again. And make another eye. And there we got two eyes. And now we're going to do the same thing and give them a nose. And now we've got a nose. He's so cute. Okay. Now I'm going to take my red and I'm going to give him a mouth. But again, if you wanted the mouth to be black as well, so it's the same as the eyes and the nose, you could do that. Or you could make the whole thing red, or just be creative with it. That's what I love about these classes, is just learning about how all of the fun, creative ways that y'all are making your craft with. All right, so for the mouth, I'm going to take my brush. So I put a little red paint on it, and I'm going to do a little swoop. Just like that. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to do this little sprinkle design we have on him. So it's just red and green dots. So I've got red and green paint here, and we're just going to kind of put it anywhere we like on our guy. So the same way how I did the eyes and the nose there, where I used the back of a paintbrush, I'm going to do the same thing here. So I'm going to start with one color. So let's go ahead and start with red, since we were already doing red. And I'm going to do red dots wherever I like, and then we'll switch to green and do green dots. So again, I'm just using the back of my paintbrush, and I'm just going to dot, dot, dot wherever I want. You can go over them if you like. Dot, dot, dot. And you see the more paint you use, the bigger your dots. The less paint you use, the smaller your dots. You could do multiple sizes of dots. If you want them all to be small, you just use less paint. If you want them all to be big, you do more paint. Say the more paint you use, the stickier it gets. All right, I think that's a good amount of red dots. So now let's do some green dots. Open up my green paint here. I've got some green. And again, you don't have to use green and red. It's just a fun, festive Christmas color for winter workshop. And I'm going to do the exact same thing I did with the red. Dot, 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 dot. Wherever I want a dot, I'm just going to put a dot. Not following the example too closely, just doing it where I want to. There we go. Now he's got a fun sprinkle design. Right, and then the last part of our little faux embroidered gingerbread man is he's got little squigglies, like little icing patterns all over him with white. So we're going to go ahead and do that. If you want the white to really show up, you can wait until this part's a little drier. But since I want to go ahead and get us moving so that we can go to our other embroidered gingerbread man, I'm going to go ahead and just show you how to do it real quick. So again, I'm getting out my white. And you could do it in a different color if you didn't want it to be white. And then you're just going to do little squigglies with your brush, just all around your gingerbread. It gives them a really cute little look. You could add hair to your gingerbread man. You could add like a little skirt if you wanted it to be a gingerbread girl. You could do all kinds of things. You could put a little bow tie on him. You could put clothes on him. Do whatever you want that makes you happy. That's my motto. Okay. I think our little guy looks great and he's done. So I'm going to set him aside to dry while we move on to our other gingerbread guy. So this is going to be the proper embroidered one. So for this, we are going to start the same way we did with our template. And I'm just going to get this paint out of here so we don't get paint everywhere because it can get messy. I'm sure you are all aware paint can be very messy. Okay. Got our paint over there. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my template and I'm going to get some brown foam. So I'm going to get some light brown foam. And I made him out of light brown foam, but you can use dark brown foam. You can use pink foam, purple foam, whatever color you want your gingerbread man to be. It can be any color, because let's face it, you can put any color icing on a gingerbread man. So it could be any color. All right. But I have just light brown foam just to give them a little visual difference for y'all. So we're actually going to cut out 2 pieces for this guy. So because we're going to sew them together. So while we did 1 piece for our faux embroidered gingerbread man, we're doing 2 pieces for our actual embroidered gingerbread man. And again, if this part can get pretty tedious, especially when it comes to the sewing. So at any point your hand starts to hurt or you start to get frustrated, please just take a break. You can pause, you can go watch the video. You don't have to, stay for the recording. You could just watch and then you could watch the recording later. So I want to make sure that everyone's having fun. If everyone is having fun, then my goal has been reached. All right, so I'm going to trace our template and cut out our gingerbread man pieces. So I think if I do it this way, I can probably just use 1 piece of foam, but I do have multiple pieces. So if anybody needs me to do something again, just let me know. Let Felicia know in the chat. She will let me know if I need to do something again. Okay. Going to trace our gingerbread man. Has anybody in the chat ever baked gingerbread cookies, maybe with your mom or your grandma or your guardian or something? There's nothing quite like the smell of gingerbread baking. It smells so good. There we go. And again, we're going to trace our little gingerbread guy again. I'm just going to use the same piece of foam. I'm going to push my drying gingerbread guy just a little bit out of the way. Trace him again. I'm not being super precise. You see here, I went a little bit off the template, so I just corrected myself. Ta-da! All right. So at this point, I'm done with my template. So I'm going to put him over there and I don't need my 10. So I'm going to cut out both pieces. So I'm going to start by separating the pieces. So while I'm cutting one piece, I don't accidentally cut through the other piece. That just helps me stay organized. So I'm going to put this one over here while I cut out this guy. So let me make sure you can, okay, you can see. we're going to cut out our 2 gingerbread people. I think if I was to name my embroidered gingerbread person, I think I'd name him Ginger. Ginger the gingerbread man.
You can be like Shrek and name it Gingy.
Gingy, there you go. What an iconic gingerbread man. All right, almost done. And then we're going to do the same thing with our other piece. There we go. Now we're going to cut out our second piece. I'm going to make sure that I have our template or our finished product in the shot, because I'm sure we have some expert crafters in our midst who are just saying, come on, cut faster than that.
Well,
But it's
speaking of names,
okay.
one of the names is Cookie.
Clicky?
Cookie.
Cookie. Oh, that's a great
Yes.
name. What a good name. Y'all are so creative. All right, I've got both my pieces cut out here. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start prepping for my embroidery. So to do that, since these are kind of thick, I like to take my little plastic needle here and just poke where I want my holes to be. So I'm going to do that twice. So I'm going to do that on this piece, and I'm going to do that on this piece. And I'm going to make less holes than on the example here. If you want to do more holes, you're absolutely welcome to. But just like I said, sometimes when you get so many holes, it can get a little tedious and your hand can start to hurt. So I'm going to try and do this with less holes. It is going to make the lines a little bit longer. So if you want a look like this, just do more holes than what I do. So I'm going to start at the top here. So what you want to do when you're poking your hole through is you don't want it to be too close to the edge, because if you poke it too close to the edge, you might break it and then it's not going to be able to be sewn. So I would always just make sure, if you think it's too close to the edge, it probably is. So just go, even if it's a little bit too far down, that's fine. Just as long as the hole doesn't break, you're fine. So it doesn't have to be super precise. Just make sure that you're not like poking right here. But I'm going to do it around here-ish. And I'm going to do my first hole right at the top. I'm going to poke it through. I'm going to do my next hole, and I'm just following, again, similar to how when we painted this guy, we kind of followed the path of the gingerbread man. We're going to do the same thing here, but we're going to do it with holes instead. All right, I'm going to do my next hole here. Just like that. I'm going to do another here. And another one here at the neck. And one on the arm. And again, like sometimes it's a little hard to push them through. Just make sure you're holding on tight to the needle so that you don't end up breaking your needle. And if you do, it's okay, because I believe this comes with multiple needles in a pack. And make sure that like you're not poking yourself too. Like see how I like almost poked through that way? That's a little bit too close to the edge, so I went in a little bit. Just like that. Okay. I'm going to do one more here. I'm doing slightly more on the arms, just because they're a little bit smaller. All right, another one here. Okay, and this one can be a little bit further out. here. Let's make this one here. And this one here. That. This one. Mm. That. And again, I'm just kind of eyeballing it. It's not a science. Just following the path. Making sure that it's in enough so I'm not breaking the hole. I think those two are probably a little too close, but that's okay. That will further out. Sometimes you have to like hold both pieces when you poke in, because otherwise it doesn't want to poke through. If you're using something like as hard as cardboard, you might want to use maybe like a pair of scissors, but just be very careful. Don't poke yourself and hurt yourself. All right, we've got our first guy here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to line up my second template, just like this, because I want the holes to be in the same spot. So the reason I didn't just poke them both through while I was doing it is because just the thickness of the foam is a little bit too thick. So it would just be really hard to poke all of them at the same time, but I do want them in a slightly similar location. So what I did is I'm going to put them both together, and then I'm going to poke through the hole that I've already previously made, and then I'm going to poke another hole, just like that. So it's a little easier. So it's not as hard on your wrist or your fingers. You're just poking that second hole. Okay, so I've got that pre-poked, and we're poking it through. We're just following our path that we've made originally. Sometimes it's still a little difficult. And it's not going to be perfect, because like you can see here, cut them out a little bit differently. That's okay. Well, see here, it's poking through on the other side, which is what we wanted to do. Do the best you can. Again, if you're starting to get like tired or bored or frustrated, you can always come back to it later. It is tedious. All right, this one is a little bit close to the edge, so I'm going to actually angle it a little bit so it doesn't break through. Just make sure. All right. Almost done here, guys. And then we get to the fun part, which is the sewing part. It's the only part that's just a little tedious. All right, one more side and then we're done.
And Stacey, you're off the camera just a little bit.
Well, thank you for telling me that, Felicia. How's that?
That's better.
Perfect. Almost done. We did it. Yay. All right, guys. Good job. That was a lot. All right, so now we have our two pieces. The holes are punched. So now we get to sew this guy together. So to do that, I'm going to use some yarn. So here I have white yarn. Again, it kind of looks like icing, like you would pipe around a gingerbread man. But you don't have to use white. If you have red or green or yellow or a different kind of thread entirely, you could use anything that you have at home. I'm gonna snip the edge here. Sometimes yarn can unravel a little bit and makes it hard to kind of feed through the needle. And this yarn is pretty thick too, so that can make it hard. Sometimes it just results in using a little saliva. Or you could use tape if you don't want to be gross like me. Ah, I got him. There we go. All right, got him through. So now what we're going to do, we're going to make a little knot. The end of our thread. And so I usually do like do a couple of loops around our knot, make it nice and thick. Okay, so we have our yarn, we have our thread, or we have our needle, everything's threaded through. So now we get to do the fun part. So one of the ways that I like to hide the knot is I start with the inside piece. So that's going to look like this. So you're not going to see that knot. So that's kind of the fun way that I like to hide the knot. Okay, so now we're just going to go through like this. And now we're going to go through both pieces. So we sew them together.
You're off the screen again.
Sorry. I was trying to look at it. Okay. Go, and you see it made that line. And now we're just going to go. Where's that pesky hole? There it is. We're just going in one hole and out the other hole. Just trying to make it feed through the pre-punched holes we've already made. Eventually, I'm going to need to rethread my needle. Didn't quite give myself quite enough thread, but that's okay. Actually think I'm going to need to rethread my needle after this one. I'll give myself more. So now, what I'm gonna do is we're gonna do one more. I'm only gonna go through this one so I can hide my knot again. And then I'll make a little knot here. With the thread. Yeah, and then there, and now we can rethread. Okie dokie. I'll give myself more. Ah, there we go. That's much better. Taking our knot. And all right. We're gonna go through this guy here. That. Right. Through. Perfect. I'm on the screen. Hooray. Just like that. Finish off embroidering our gingerbread guy. Gingerbread man, gingerbread woman, whoever your gingerbread is. Pushing, pulling. Oops, got the scissors in there. That's not safe. There we go. Pulling through. And then when we're done with our embroidery, we're going to do the decorating, which is super, super fun. And this is a really good skill to learn, like just sewing in general. Like when you learn how to sew, like you can do so many things. So many things. I'm so funny. Ah, I did it again. I'm on a roll. But no, for real, like you could sew clothes or plushies. You could do all kinds of fun things with this kind of skill. So if you're sticking around and you're doing it, because I know this is tedious, good job, because you are learning a valuable skill. So many people that like make money, make a living off of sewing. Actually, my great grandma was a seamstress. She owned a dress shop. So she made her whole living off of making dresses. Make sure I'm still on camera. All right. Put it through our hole. And again, he's not going to be perfect, but that's okay because he's my gingerbread man. We're almost done, guys. This is the hardest part. This is the sewing part. Once you're done, you're done.
So Stacey, there was a quick question. I let
Yep.
you know that you are using a double strand, but
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that in the sample it's a single strand. Does it really?
Oh, yeah. So the reason I use the double strand is I like it because it's a little bit more secure. But if you want to do a single strand, you can do that too. And then you wouldn't even have to worry about the little knot. But yes, good call out. You guys are very observant. All right. And before I finish sewing them up, I'm actually going to take just some extra yarn and I'm going to stuff them with it. Just give them a little flush. And this is just an extra step. You don't have to do this if you don't want to, but it's kind of fun to give them a little flush. He's almost like a little plushie. You've made your very own first little plushie. All right. And now we're going to finish him up. And I need to go back through that last hole. And I'll make my knot there. All right. And now just cut. Here we go. Look at him. Oh my goodness. Good job, guys. All right. So now we need to give him a face. So I'm going to use some googly eyes. You could also paint a face. You could do exactly like how we did with the painted guy here and just paint on the details. But I'm going to give him some googly eyes because that is in our sample. And then a little CHENILLE stem mouth. So to do that, I'm just cutting off a little bit of CHENILLE stem, very small amount, or pipe cleaner, if you want to call it that. And then I'm just bending it into a U shape there. And then I'm going to put it in the middle of his head. And then I'm going to glue on 2 little googly eyes. Look how cute he is. Oh my goodness. This is such a cute project. I hope y'all are having fun with him. There we go. Now you can see him. All right. Putting a little glue here. Making his face. One eye on.
There's
And
participants saying that there are some googly eyes that are peel and stick, so that you
there
don't have to use
are.
glue.
That's a great tip, y'all, because there are sticky googly eyes already, so you wouldn't even have to use glue if you have the peel and stick kind. Great suggestion. All right, so finally, I'm going to use just a little bit of white paint, just like we did on the example here, to make some details. So it's just like a little nose. He's got little buttons and then some wavy lines here, just like you would on a little baked gingerbread guy. So I'm going to start with the wavy lines. I'm just going to take a little white paint. I'm going to make one across his neck. Not even super precise, just however I like. Make one across each arm here. Make one on each of his legs. There we go. And then finally, to make the little dot for the nose and the 3 dots for his buttons, I'm going to do that trick again I showed you earlier where I'm dipping the back of my brush in my paint. And then I'm just going to go dot, dot, dot. And now I'm going to make one more dot for his nose. There, he's all done. He's so cute. I love him. I hope everyone is as proud of their gingerbread man as I am, because I'm super proud. If you got all the way to the end of this project, you have a lot of patience and time, because I know that sewing it can be difficult. So if you did, give yourselves a pat on the back, because y'all did great. You've been a great audience. But that is everything I have to show you. We have our 2 completed gingerbread men.
Hey, Stacey, there's a question asking, will a Sharpie draw on foam?
You know, I think it does. Sharpie does work on foam. So if you wanted to use a Sharpie to decorate, you could. It might soak into the foam a little bit, so you might have to do it a couple of times. But yeah, that should work. I think both Sharpie, pen might be a little bit difficult, but Sharpie should work.
I think that's all the questions we have.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. Again, we do have another winter workshop, same time, same place tomorrow, the peppermint shaker ornament with Val. So make sure to tune in for that if you feel like doing that one. We've had a great time here today. So thanks everyone. And I hope everyone has a great Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever you celebrate. Just have a great December. Bye everyone.